There's an old saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. The quote reminds us that the ideal time may have passed, but the present moment is still the best time to begin. And investing is no different. In this video, we're going to explore why I believe you should start investing today, no matter your age. Welcome to Wealth Fund 21. This channel is dedicated towards helping adults take care of their finances and secure their financial future. I previously covered the differences between saving versus investing in another video, which I'll link down below. But for today's video, we're going to purely focus on investing. So we're going to look at why I think you should invest and what the best strategy to do that is. So why should you start now? Well, according to Hargreaves Lansdown, nearly 66% of Americans invest in the stock market. Now, compare that to just 24% of adults in the UK. The report highlights some of the differences in attitudes towards risk between the two countries. Now, I'll link that down in the description if you want to read that in further detail. Focusing on the UK, Finder.com breaks it down even further. Around 24% of adults invest in stocks and shares, and around 11% of the country invest in cryptocurrency as well. Now, looking at generational trends, the chart shows that since the baby boomer era, likely our parents' generation, the number of people investing in stocks and shares has steadily increased, which is great. It's worth noting, however, that this data doesn't account for housing. Considering that baby boomers own nearly 30% of all the homes in the UK, it's clear to see that property has been a considerable driver of wealth over the last 50 years. If you want to read this article in more detail, I'll link it below, but now we're going to move on to types of investing. So in this video, we're going to cover three types of investing. The first is going to be the S&P 500, the second is going to be DIY investing, and the third is going to be crypto investing. Now, we're not going to go into huge detail on all of these three because they're essentially three separate videos in one. We're just going to cover the top baseline information to give you an idea about investment strategies that you could use. To keep things fair, we're going to say that we've got a gross salary of £30,000, which roughly gives us about £24,000 after we take out taxes, which is around about £2,000 a month. Now, we're going to be using the 50-30-20 rule. 50% or £1,000 a month will go towards needs. 30% for wants, which is roughly around £300 a month for activities and a pint of Guinness. And then 20% is for investments, which is £200 a month. Okay, so the first investment strategy we're going to be looking at is the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is really simple. It's essentially the top 500 companies in the US by market cap. A market cap is simply how much that company is worth. So it's worth noting that since 1992, the S&P 500 has returned 11.29%. So we're going to utilize this as a basis for how much money we're predicted to make. Now, we can't predict the future, but history does give us a similar basis for future growth. So if we take that 11.29% and we say that we predict that it's going to grow by 11% per year, that's probably a good basis to look towards what we could earn in the future. So adopting the 50-30-20 rule, we're going to invest £200 a month into the S&P 500. So let's say that you invest £200 a month into the S&P 500 for 30 years. Now, initially, you might feel like your contributions are outweighing the growth. However, by year 13, compound interest starts to take over, and you'll start to see that your investments are earning more than you contributed. So if we fast forward 30 years, we can see that we've invested £72,000. We've got a final value of £501,731, and we've earned in interest over £429,000. Now remember, investments can go up, but they can also come down. So you need to be aware that your investment strategy might not be 11% every year. It could be 22% one year and then flat, 0% the second year. Now, the thing is, the S&P 500 has been around for the last 70 years, so it's got a good prediction of where it potentially will go. Okay, so number two, let's have a little look at DIY investing. So DIY investing is essentially managing your own portfolio. Instead of picking the S&P 500 and watching it go up or down, you're essentially trying to pick stocks, sell stocks that you think will go up and down. So you're actively managing it. Now, fair warning, this is really challenging. The numbers are not in your favor. According to the Financial Times, 70% of all DIY investors lose money, and 90% lose their entire investment within 90 days. Even professional investors struggle, with only 18.2% of managed funds beating the S&P 500. So you might be thinking, why would I DIY invest versus just sticking in the S&P 500? And that's a really good question. Most people don't outperform the S&P 500. Now, the reason I think that 90% of investors lose their money within 90 days, for two reasons. The first reason is lack of information, and the second thing is lack of patience. So Warren Buffett famously said the following: if you aren't willing to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. And that's a really, really interesting point. It comes from probably the greatest investor the world's ever seen. If you look at his stocks, he's owned most of his companies for over 10 years. He's not picking a stock and thinking he'll sell it tomorrow. He has a really long-term view with most of his stocks. An example of this is Nike. If we look at Nike's stock, we can see over the last 90 days it's down nearly 15%. But if we look at the 10-year period, it's up nearly 70%. I believe DIY investing can teach you valuable skills. It can get you to think for yourself and start researching companies. It can get you into the financial figures of certain companies and start looking at the macro environment of investing. But as we know, it's not for everyone. Personally, I've done extremely well with DIY investing. I've managed to outperform the S&P 500. Currently, I'm sitting at around 73% returns on one of my accounts, and others I'm sitting around 50, and others I'm sitting in minus. What has allowed me to outperform the S&P is 1, research, and 2, time. I absolutely do not think that DIY investing should be your only investment strategy. I think it should complement you looking at investing in funds, investing in the S&P 500, and combining the two together. Okay, and finally we're going to look at crypto investing. As you're probably aware, crypto has seen this massive adoption curve over the last 6 years. With 27% of Americans now owning some form of cryptocurrency, headlines of overnight millionaires seem to be in my face every single day. I only have to look back to last week, where you can see the launch of meme coin, official Trump, which skyrocketed to 6 billion in market cap in just a few hours. It means that if you had invested £100 at launch and sold 1 hour later, you'd have made £17,000. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. Crypto is extremely volatile. It's ever-growing and we don't know where it's going. Even the experts don't know of its trajectory. I would advise caution if you are going to be investing in crypto. I definitely think it's something that you should consider, but maybe not if you're starting your investment journey. If you are starting your investment journey and want to allocate towards crypto, I would suggest allocating a very small amount. It means that if you do lose it, you're not going to be waking up thinking, how am I going to pay my rent, or it's beans again for dinner. So here's some advice. If you're new in your investment journey, start with the S&P 500. It's proven, it's been around for 70 years, we understand it, and we can kind of guess where it's going to go. If you want to try your hand at DIY investing, pick stocks that you think that will go up over the long term. Try and stay away from the ones that you like just because you buy their product or you use their service. Pick stocks that you think are undervalued and that you think that within the next 6 months to 4 years, they're going to go up. And then crypto. Crypto is extremely exciting. I'm excited by it, as are other investors. But be really careful. If you're brand new to investing, look at the S&P 500. It's proven, we have enough data to back it, and we understand roughly where the trajectory is going to go. Then maybe branch out into DIY investing. Pick stocks that you think that are undervalued that will go up over time. It could be Disney stock or Nike stock, but try and stay away from stock that you personally buy and that you are acting on emotion versus maybe technical analysis. If you are buying a stock because you buy their product or you like their brand, that's not the right investment decision. And then maybe try your luck with crypto. Maybe take 5% of your investment capital and start investing. But just be really cautious and don't get sucked into any hype that you see on the internet, because these individuals are just trying to get you to buy their coin or trying to scam you out of your own money. So just be really, really careful. It can be an incredible place to invest your money. You can make lots of money, but you can also lose it all within an instance. So what's holding you back from investing? Why haven't you started? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can help you take those first steps. Thanks for watching Wealth Fund 21. My name is David, and I'll see you on the next episode.